Hey guys, so this video is about Eugenia Cooney. If you don't know who she is, I'm going to give you a little rundown. Eugenia Cooney is just, a simple female YouTuber, and she's anorexic though. And there's been a lot of controversy over her in the last 2 years or so, maybe 3 really. Because if you watch her videos, you can see her increasingly getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, until her most recent video before rehab, which was a Kingdom Hearts video. I'll put a screenshot here. This is actually what she looked like. It was the last video she recorded before she came back to YouTube a couple weeks ago. Now, I was not going to make this video, because this whole Eugenia Cooney thing is not my place at all. Quite frankly, I think it's nobody's place except for Jaclyn Glenn's, and of course Eugenia herself. But I'm actually making this video because of the way that people are talking about Jaclyn. And unfortunately, I think, well, I don't think it, Jaclyn's admitted to this, that, she's a pretty naive person. She's not a bad person at all. In fact, I think she's one of the nicest people on YouTube, period. But she's very naive. She trusts people too easily, has a younger mind, things like that. Doesn't understand that people will do the opposite and say the opposite of the truth because people are idiots. And that's why I'm making this video, because I don't think she knows how to fully defend herself from the idiots who are talking about her. And if Jaclyn ever sees this video, which I doubt she will, you might think that I'm trying to be some like White Knight Onision shithead by defending you, but it's not that simple. I just want to point out that the people who are saying these stupid things are stupid. The thing is, without Jaclyn, Eugenia would have died. If you look at how thin she was in that Kingdom Hearts video, in that screenshot I posted, that is close to death. And if Jaclyn hadn't intervened and gotten an intervention for her and then rehab, she would have died. There is no question about that. Probably within a couple weeks to maybe a few months after that video was taken, if she continued on that road, she would have died. And there's no question, no doubt about it whatsoever. And what was funny is that people were after Jaclyn back then to, how dare you let Eugenia get this way and all this kind of stuff. You should be a good friend to her. And I'm actually guilty of this too. Do you know how I found Eugenia? I've been a fan of Jaclyn for a couple years. And I was just looking through Jaclyn's Instagram page, and I happened to see pictures of the two of them together, and I'm like, holy shit. That girl is so anorexic. And at first, I even blamed Jaclyn. And I'll tell you why in a second. Because I think that Jaclyn herself is actually pretty thin. I don't think she's anorexic by any means, but she is really, really thin. And I actually thought that the reason why Jaclyn didn't get her friend help is because Jaclyn thought her weight was good because she herself is thin. Turns out I, like many people, were wrong. Jaclyn has been trying to get Eugenia help for several years, long before the pictures on Instagram I saw were even taken. And the real issue in Eugenia's life is actually her own mother. Now, I am very familiar with abusive families. I grew up in an abusive home myself. I have been part of, abusive families via friends or ex-girlfriends, current girlfriend. And, I'm very used to this. I see how people are. I know narcissism. I know sociopathy. I know all those things. I know how people act when they have clear mental issues and take them out on the people around them, particularly family. I've also counseled many people through family abuse and all kinds of things, so I know it when I see it. And I don't even need to say that I know it, because Jaclyn has, made it very clear. Eugenia's mother is abusive, heavily abusive and manipulative, and that's very obvious. For a while people probably thought that Eugenia just didn't like to eat, or many of the other things that can cause a person to become anorexic. But one of the biggest things that causes that is if you're being abused in many different forms. But Eugenia's mother is obviously fucking insane. She was trying to prevent Eugenia from even getting help. Like, what, you don't want your own daughter to be helped? Like, it's one of those things where, now, I don't know Eugenia's mother at all, so everything I'm saying is just my own thoughts based on experience. But things like, Eugenia's mother, kind of like relies on Eugenia for her own happiness. And if she went to rehab or got help, she'd be away from her. Things like that, where they put their own happiness above their kids. Although I'm not really sure how that would make you happy when your child dies. But regardless, clearly there's a bit of a balance here where she doesn't care enough about Eugenia or cares too much where she shelters her to the point where she's gonna just die anyway. But a lot of parents are like that, unfortunately, where they try to do something that contradicts their own fucking ideas. But like I said, I don't know Eugenia's mother at all. I've never, seen her in videos or things like that. But I do know her type of person. And to go back to what I was saying about how even I was one of the people who was like, why isn't Jacqueline helping? What's funny is that now that everybody knows that Jacqueline did help and was the prime helper, now everyone's saying that it's not Jacqueline's place to help. What the hell do you mean it's not Jacqueline's place to help? And unfortunately, see, this is her being naive again. She's in her recent video saying things like, I understand it wasn't my place. Jacqueline, what the hell are you talking about? Of course it was your place. You were her closest friend. You were her biggest helper. Without you and David, she would have died. You were the one that got her into rehab. Therefore, it most certainly is your place. It couldn't be any more your place unless you were her fucking sister. Like, the notion that it wouldn't be your place. For what reason? Because what, the internet told you it wasn't your place? Jacqueline, you're an amazing person. A very loving person. You're not some psychopath like Onision. You actually were the one to save her life. Since you're the one to save her life, you most certainly, without a doubt, unquestionably, this is your place, this is your situation. And I think you handled everything very well. This whole thing where you had to, bring Eugenia into your home and get her into rehab that way to get her away from her mother, you most certainly had to do that. Do not feel bad because you had to apparently hold her hostage. These were things that Eugenia's mother said to Jacqueline, that she held Eugenia hostage and kidnapped her and shit like that. You had to do what you had to do to save this girl's life and get her away from her abusive mother, because if you had let her stay in Eugenia's mother's house, you know just as well as anybody else that you wouldn't have been able to help. The people who are commenting saying that this is not your place and Jacqueline's a bad person, you want you go fuck yourselves. She saved somebody's life. Well, what can I expect from a friggin' society in 2019 where everything is backwards? I bet you people actually support assholes like Onision because he apparently did everything, right? At least he thinks he did. But when a person actually does help and save someone's life and get them into rehab, no, that's the bad person. Shut the fuck up. Jacqueline and David and her friend, I don't know her name, but they saved Eugenia's goddamn motherfucking life. And when Jacqueline made that video last week where she was almost in tears for the whole video talking about everything, people are at her for that video too, like, oh, you made a video just because Shane Dawson made a video? No, the problem was because Shane Dawson's little documentary put Eugenia in a light that everything is now better. Okay, fine, her health is better, physical health, but that means nothing. She still lives with her mother. She's still being abused by her mother, and because of that, Eugenia has the ability to relapse and become anorexic again. So don't fucking tell Jacqueline, me, or anybody else that Eugenia is now A-OK 100%. She can very easily relapse. That's why Jacqueline made her video in response to Shane's, because it's great that she's physically healthy now. Her weight's gone up a little bit. But the point is that if she's still living with an abusive mother who has the potential to make her relapse again and become very depressed, she most certainly is not in the clear, and Shane Dawson is putting it across that everything's fine. And what's weird is that, obviously in the documentary, Eugenia herself is putting it across that everything is A-OK, and the reason I believe that is because of part of her mother's manipulation. Now that she's finally out of rehab, her mother probably has a hold on her again that, Eugenia, you better make the internet think that you're now okay. That's probably what's happening. Eugenia's mother is probably forcing her, because now that she's gone through rehab and she couldn't stop that, she's probably now going to hold her down again and be like, listen, I don't want to hear any more about, you being sad or anxious or whatever, and, not eating. You tell the internet that you're perfectly fine. And Jacqueline knows differently, because she knows what kind of person her mother is. And I've dealt with many abusive families, and I know that too. It's just fucked beyond belief that we have such backwards people who, 1 second, oh, Jacqueline, you don't care about your friend, and now you're getting involved, and you shouldn't be doing that. Well, what the fuck should she do? Where's the middle ground between not getting involved and getting involved? But what can I say about just the way people think, the way people look at situations like this, and instead of congratulating the person who has recovered and thanking the person who helped them get recovered, no, instead it's fuck Jacqueline and Eugenia's fine and her mother's a great person. Fuck off. I'm so used to abusive families. I know exactly the kind of person Eugenia's mother is. She's basically most likely the female tame version of Onision as a person. Please. Anyway, I want Jacqueline to know, again, if she watches this video, that I thank you deeply for saving your friend's life. And do not feel bad about getting involved. Do not feel bad about holding her hostage. Do not feel bad about getting her the intervention. Do not feel bad about what you're saying about her mother. And do not feel bad about calling people like Onision or Shane Dawson out who are just there to make it look like they were the saviors. Because the real savior was Jacqueline and anybody that she associated with during that time. They're the real people who saved this poor girl's life. They are the real people who saved this poor girl's life. And I'm sick, and I hate the fact that Jacqueline's in her video saying things like, I'm sorry I did it, but I had to do it. No. Don't say sorry for what you did. You did the right fucking thing. Okay? I mean, I could pull a card out about Jacqueline being a genuinely good person because she's an atheist, but hey, I'm probably going to get some hate for saying something like that even though it's fucking true. Anyway, Jacqueline, again, I love you. I've been watching you for like 3 or 4 years now, and I think you're awesome. And nobody else will say this, but I actually have pride and self-respect, so I will say it. Remember earlier in this video I said that I was one of the people who doubted Jacqueline? I'm sorry. I was wrong. I should not have judged you and thought that you weren't helping her. Can anybody else say sorry to Jacqueline? Probably not, because you're all fuckheads. Take care.